and it was already most of the way done. And The Rock was in it, and another guy, Billy Bob Thornton, and had some big stars in it. And the whole part about this movie was this man that was, he was full of anger, full of violence, and he wanted revenge, and he was seeking after the things that seemed natural to him, to want this revenge and this anger that was built up inside of him. And near the end of the movie, after he had sought and tried to get revenge, and he went into they had a tent revival. And even the preacher, he had been mad at from years ago, one of them, and he spared him over because that man begged. And he finally had a little bit of mercy, and he went back into that tent and he sat down under that tent. Nobody else was even in there. This caught my attention, and I thought it was pretty for me. I thought it was. He was at the end of his rope. He is just feeling so bad. And all of a sudden, in this movie, they started fading in a little bit of music as he sat there with his head dropped. And I got listening to that music, and it was an old regular Baptist singing and lining a song. And I know the old regular Baptist. I preached with him quite a few times. But he was lining this song called Poor Pilgrim of Sorrow. And I'm very hoarse and not able to sing it. But it says, I am a poor pilgrim of sorrow, cast out in this wide world to roam. I have no promise of tomorrow. I have started to make heaven my home. Sometimes I am tossed and driven. Sometimes I know not where to roam. I have heard of the city of heaven. I've started to make it my home. I know I'm weak and unworthy. My heart is so prone to sin. But Jesus, the Savior Almighty, has promised to take me in. Amen. And they faded that song in just for a few minutes. And I listened to it. His brother I.D. Back. I'm so sure some of you have heard of him. And from over in Whitesburg. And he was lining that. And then they faded it out. And his heart began to soften. But I just thought that all the way in Hollywood, somebody had researched to find just an old song of Zion and what would be fitting and what would be proper for that situation. And it touched me, and it made me realize that maybe we don't know everything that we're doing right now is going to be of great effect in anybody's life. But what if years from now, we're recording this like we try to record most of our meetings, and what if years from now that his little boy or his grandson, even Cooper, might see or go back and just see some of these recordings. That recording of Brother I.D. Back was, I believe, in 1965, somewhere around there, and it was recorded by the government. They come through and they wanted to preserve. The Smithsonian Institute has this recorded, and they wanted to preserve some of the old things that were being done in the churches, in the hidden churches. They knew that society, our government knew, that as roads begin to open up and as telephone lines begin to come in and TV began to impress everybody's mind, that we would slowly start changing and we would allow the culture of the outside world to affect us right here in the hills of Kentucky. The hills that at one time had been secluded and cut off from a lot of the world. And you know, they were right. It has changed us, and it has, but it's been recorded. And I began to think about that as I rewound it and listened to it, and rewound it and listened to it, and a half a dozen times just to hear that old man sing that song that I am a poor pilgrim of sorrow. And that's what we are. In this world, we are a poor pilgrim of sorrow. But, you know, and I've thought about many of our songs. We sing so many songs that are almost like graveyard songs, people calls them. And one time I was up in Michigan and I was working in a little factory, and I was standing at my machine, and my buddy was standing over at the machine next to mine, and I was trying to learn a little song called Dear Friends, Farewell. And it's another sad song. They sing so many of our songs start out in sorrow, start out talking about death, and as I was whistling, I wasn't even singing, I was whistling that little song, and my buddy Danny, he leaned over and he said, "What in the world are you whistling?" And I said, I laughed a little bit. I said, "Well, it's just a little church song that I'm trying to learn." And he looked at me and he says, "It sounds like a death march to me." That's what it sounded like to me. And I smiled a little bit, and as I started running my machine again, I began thinking about what he thought it was. And I turned around to him and I said, "Danny, you might be right. I'm going to tell you the words of this song, that it is a kind of a death march. Listen." And I began to tell him that. And after I got through one or two verses, it began to change the words, and it was talking about that he's going on to glory. Farewell, vain world. I'm leaving this world of sorrow, but I've got a better place to go to. Brother, listen, I want men and women to understand. I don't know if I'll be able to say much of anything here, but I want every man and every woman to understand that you have this moment right now. You ain't got a promise of tomorrow. Like that song said, I have no promise of tomorrow, but listen, if you put your hand in the man called Jesus, you'll have a promise that when everything is said and done, when your life is well spent, and you're coming right down to the very end of your life, listen to me, you'll still have a promise. Everything's going to be all right. But I want men and women to understand. Listen, you've got right now, that's all you've got. You ain't got tomorrow as a promise living in this world. But I want you to understand that as long as you got Jesus down inside, everything's going to be all right. Listen to me. But what are you going to do with today? How close is Jesus today to you? Or how far away is Jesus from you? Even Israel, when they come from the land of Egypt, and they come through the wilderness, did you know it was just a few days walk from Egypt? They get into the promised land, and they walked there, and they came right there to the plains of Moab. There was the river of Jordan. All they had to do was walk right on over, believe the promise of God, and enter into that good land. But you know what they done? They were all scared. They were all afraid, brother. And God told Moses, you get you some spies, and you send them over, let them bring back good word. And he picked him out 12. Listen, and they went down into that land, and they spied out the land, the promised land, that God gave unto Abraham. When them spies came back, they began to say, Joshua, to say it is a land of milk and honey. It is a good land, and every one of them agreed with that. But you know what? 10 of them began to also add. They said, well, it is a good land, but it's a hard land to conquer. There's many people in that land, even giants over there. Oh Lord, and brethren, and all the children of Israel listened and hearkened to the voice of them 10, and so they didn't believe that God was able. How close are you to God right now? How close is God to you right now? He's as far away as you want to push Him, and He's as close as you want Him this morning. Because they believed the people's report, them 10 spies, because they listened to their voice, and they were scared, God turned them back into the wilderness. Listen, for 40 long years, until every one of them people that was with Moses, all the adults died in the wilderness land. Somebody might say, well, I'm better than them. I believe God do you today. Then where are you at?
That's it. That's it right there.
Listen to me.
That's right. Now preach it.
Yeah. When they took my Lord out of the judgment hall, and they led Him up Golgotha's hill, you know what? They walked Him up there. They nailed Him to a cross, like these brothers was talking about. Brother Chad was saying they hung Him between the heavens and the earth. And you know what? Them soldiers, them Roman soldiers, they began to look on Him, brother. They looked on Him, and they began to notice His clothes. And you know what? Listen, they decided we'll take His clothes and we'll share them among us. And brethren, and they looked at His vesture, they looked at His clothes, that it was without a seam in it, woven from the top all the way to the bottom. Wasn't even a seam in it. And they thought we ought not cut that one up, but instead we'll cast lots. Maybe it was like dyes, and there at the foot of the cross, them soldiers, this far away from my Lord, the Savior of the world, that close to salvation, and all they could see was some clothes that they wanted, and they got down in the dirt, and they began to throw dice, wanting that, to win that thing, that big garment of his. Maybe even the shadow of the cross was on their bags. That clothes the salvation itself, and yet they couldn't even see for what He was. But where in the world are you today? How many people come to church every Sunday, Brother Mike? Every year they come and they come, and yet they never make a profession of faith. Oh, I'm telling you something. God is as close as you want Him today, but He's as far away as you keep pushing Him.
Amen, brother.
I'm telling you one thing. You can come to church, even you church members can show up, you can fill your seat, you can hum along while a brother tries to sing, and you know what? When you leave here, the whole time you're sitting here, here. You was thinking about the things you got to do today. You're that close to a Savior. But you ain't even seeing Him for what He is. I'm begging men and women, get ready. Get ready to go to heaven.
Amen.
In this world. I'm telling you, when Sister Keisha called me the other day, Lisa, she called me and she was crying. And she said, Brother Daryl, I need you to be praying for a little family over here. It's Addison's, one of her best friends, got burned up in a fire last night, and the mommy is still alive, and they've taken her to the hospital to put her on some type of a respirator or something because she's having trouble breathing. No doubt damaged her lungs with smoke. Brother, listen, and she said they need prayers, and we all need prayers. And you know what? I just kept thinking of what was on everybody's mind the day before that. Were they thinking tomorrow I'm going to die? Were they thinking tomorrow I'm going to lose everything that's important to me in my life? I got news for you. Tomorrow, listen, it may be too late for you. We don't know. But I promise you one thing. If you'll seek God, if you'll hold Him right here, close as you can,
You got it.
when the end comes, it'll be all right.
Amen.
You won't be worried. You won't be casting lots
That's right.
for this or for that. You'll have the treasure. The treasure wasn't his gown that he had on, or his robe, or whatever it was. The treasure was the man himself. As he hung on that cross right there, he done it for me and you. And I wish men would understand that. I'm going to give way. I know I'm so hoarse. Brother Mike, come on. Close it out.